Kazakhstan is one of the most multicultural countries in the world, consisting of representatives of more than 130 ethnic groups and nationalities. Each ethnicity has unique traditions, fantastic holidays, and fascinating history, as well as amazing recipes. Recipes for kindness and peace, and respect for our ancestors and other people's culture. This is Recipe for Friendship. Hello, this is Recipe for Friendship, and my name is Alatina Madiyarova. Today, the Chechen diaspora of Kazakhstan is in focus. And since we are talking about the people of the Caucasus, today we again cannot do without fiery dances, music, and interesting personalities. So I invite you to meet Shamkhan and the Caucasus Ensemble. Today we are going to learn the culture, customs, and traditions of Kazakhstani Chechens. We will taste the main dish of the national cuisine, a favorite of everyone who has ever tried it, Chechen dumplings. You can push harder to get the holes. You know what these holes are for? The broth goes through them. Yes, broth with garlic. And then it remains here. What a beauty! We will bake special cakes which are needed to bathe before serving. Now is some kind of responsible phase about which I have no idea. What will we do next? Now we will bathe the flat cakes. Bathe them? How's that? Yes, we haven't seen it in our program. Take a look at the astonishing Lezginka performed by one of the best dance bands in Almaty. For me, this is fire, and the mood of excitement and everything. I would advise everyone to become more courageous and to start dancing Lezginka. Moreover, we are going to learn about the intricacies of the dance that can sometimes decide the fate of a few people. Because when the girl saw the fight, she would come into the battle and drop her handkerchief. At this time, the men would stop, put down their daggers, and walk away in peace. And the girl would have the right to choose between them. Everyone knows about the hospitality of the people of the Caucasus region, probably even those who have never been guests from the native of this region. The guests of the Caucasus region are considered messengers of God, and they meet their guests properly. The Chechens, even living far from their historical homelands, keep the precepts of their ancestors carefully, and don't ever back down from their traditions. Traditionally, women are homemakers, meek and loyal supporters of their husbands. The men are the breadwinners and protectors. Respect for one's elders has a particular importance in the culture of this ethnic group. However, at this point it should be noted that the similarities with the Kazakh way of life exist. First and foremost, historically, the resettlement of Chechens from the land of their ancestors was forced and very hard. During Stalin's repression and exile of the entire nation, a significant part of them died. These people feel injustice very clearly. They have been persecuted. Every 50 years, half of the people died. And now it all seems to have stopped. Fezullah Magomedov said that his credo is making good things. His kids are growing up in Kazakhstan, and he tries to cultivate them in such a way to have a sense of justice, gratitude, and respect to their culture and the culture of those peoples living around. You know, when we came to this land, the Kazakhs accepted us with their mentality, their candor, their generosity, and we caught on to it. And many people know. Even my father bequeathed his love of this land and people. And I am successfully bringing it to life. It's surprising, but even living in the 21st century, the representatives of the Chechen ethnos preserve the life and lifestyle similar to that of their ancients. Roles and responsibilities are clearly defined. The most important thing for a Chechen is, maybe it would sound pompous, but in fact it's chivalry. This means that the men should not just be defenders and the women keepers of the hearth. It's not just about being a breadwinner, but for centuries it's believed that the most valuable quality is nobility. It may seem strange, this inviolability of foundations in the era of globalization, and yet it seems that it still works.
В нашем обществе или в нашем этносе глобализация
Globalization hasn't affected our society, our ethnicity, not even 1%.
мы своим детям
We bequeath it to our children, and our parents once did that for us as well.
глобализация наша.
Globalization has not affected us in this plan of civilization. We are developing.
Вот у меня один в Китае.
For example, I have a son and he studies in China, and my daughter is studying in Austria.
Сохранил.
We managed to keep the nation, traditions, and customs and morals.
Всё. И еще взяли.
Something we have learned from the Kazakh people. That's why we are grateful and we appreciate it.
За что мы им благодарны и ценим это. И это вот касается, ну,
And this applies to many, many people.
большинство сейчас, которые живут в Чечне,
The majority of those who live in Chechnya, they came from here. Well, today we are guests in an ordinary Chechen family. So today we are going to get acquainted with the culture, customs, and traditions of Chechens living in Kazakhstan. And as you can guess by our surroundings, we've moved into the kitchen. And when it comes to the Chechen kitchen, everyone who has ever tried it is even salivating right now. Because today we will learn how to make Chechen dumplings, for sure. Meet LUISA. She is my first guide into the world of the goodies that can be found on a Chechen's dinner table. Chechen dumplings, or jijig galnash, is a very popular dish with quite a simple composition. The composition of pastry and meat probably can be found in any kitchen in the world. And it's just unbelievable how much of a variety of dishes there are with a combination of just pastry and meat. So the dough is very simple, yes? Yes, it's very simple. Just water, flour, and salt. Because of the visit of our crew, this house is having guests today. However, Chechen housewives are always ready to meet their guests with a ready dinner table. According to the amount of flour, I can say that Chechens have big families, and you cook very often. Do they often visit you? Very often. The composition of the dough is as simple as it is brilliant. Flour, water, salt. And these Chechen dumplings, is it considered a holiday dish or an everyday one? I'd rather say that it's an everyday dish because we cook them very often. While they're little, Chechen girls learn the basics of housekeeping. Usually by the time they are married, girls already know how to keep the house in perfect order, how to cook and sew. This dish, in my opinion, is it good for the winter? Yes, it's much tastier to eat it in the wintertime rather than in the summer. It's mostly prepared with beef. Well, of course you could use turkey and chicken and lamb as well. So the dough of the most common ingredients are mixed and then unrolled. Meat, chicken, or turkey is boiled in advance, and by the time you need to cook the dumplings, the soup must be ready. If you cook the broth in advance and knead the dough, which becomes only better with a little bit of time, it will be easy to surprise guests with a fragrant dish. Now we do it like this, here, using 3 fingers, just like this. You can push harder to get the holes. Do you know what these holes are for? The broth goes through them. Yes, broth with garlic. And then it remains here. What a beauty. It's a sort of shell, yes. The principle of this shell is that it creates a cavity, like a cup or a boat, which will be full of broth and the sauce at the end. And this is probably the main feature, isn't it? Yes. Now, the very important point, the special sauce, using garlic. We need garlic, and it's already peeled. Is that for the sauce? Yes, it's for the sauce. I remember the secret ingredient of Chechen dumplings, which is not so secret at all. It's garlic. It should be passed through the masher, and then a little bit of water should be added to it so that it becomes spicier. And we will continue to pour the hot broth. Ready, piping hot dumplings are served on the table. Each one is free to choose the amount of meat, dough, and sauce. However, while eating Chechen dumplings, you'd better remember that Chechens never serve a table with only one dish. You should leave room in your stomach for chapelgish. This is another must-have for the Chechen table. It's called chapelgish. ZURA will teach me not only to pronounce it, but what is the most important thing, to cook it. Why is this dish known as one of the most difficult? Well, how can I say it? It's because the dough should be very soft and it's hard to deal with. ZURA has been cooking chapelgish since she was 18, and it's easy to make the dough with her skills. Here's how the dough is kneaded. If you add too much flour, the dough will become thick and harsh. See, you can already feel it, right? Here we have the dough ready. Here is the dough, very gentle. Well, some people make it harder, but the taste is different. It is a quite difficult thing to guess the perfect consistency and texture. The decisive factor here is your skill set, and a woman's intuition suits as well. Doing it under the control and supervision of an experienced master, everything's easier. But then when you're home alone in the kitchen, it's much more difficult to practice. You can't get every detail right, and the only consolation is that no one can see you. The filling can be different: mashed potatoes, pumpkins, or greens. However, the most traditional one is cheese. Is something else in the curd? Yes, it's kind of salty. Well, fine. Also, add an egg. There should be a lot of filling. That way it's tastier. But if you overdo it, the cake will tear apart. Putting it together looks like this. Have a look. Yeah, the knot. The dough is really delicate. It breaks easily. Of course, this dough can be cooked at home in the right hands. I'm sure that if it was sold prefabricated, the dough would never be the same. It's too delicate, too, I don't know, difficult to transport. It's too ephemeral. ZURA's family live in Chechnya. She is the mother of 3 grown daughters who she passed her skills on to. Do you have a daughter-in-law? No, I have 3 daughters. So the girls probably know everything already. One of them is married. She of course knows everything. The middle one too. She's not married, but she knows everything. And the youngest one is too little? Yes, she's too little. The ready-made cakes are baked on a dry pan. However, do not hurry to brush them with butter and serve them at the table. Now is some kind of a responsible phase, about which I have no idea. What do we do next? Now we will bathe the flat cakes. How's that? Yes, we certainly haven't seen this in our program. It is not necessary to have piping hot broth. What do we do it for? To make them lush, soft, and gentle. I can see that all the burnt particles and burnt flour are flashed away during such a bath. Yes. Then we apply a little bit of butter on the chapelgish, and it's ready to be eaten. It's incredibly beautiful, and the smell is incredible too. Well, now teach me the main words, without which it is impossible to start a meal. Gozilkei. Enjoy your meal. And now I invite you to admire the incredible Chechen lizginka. Our Recipe for Friendship team has seen a lot of varieties of this dance. What makes this distinctly Chechen? I think everyone who has ever seen lizginka already understands the difference. I mean that lizginka, and Chechen lizginka in particular, is in fact an emotional dance. It's fiery. And on the other hand, it's restrained. Because during the dance, the man is not allowed to have a close-up encounter with a woman. Even his clothes shouldn't touch the woman.
Нельзя, чтобы он дотрагивался даже до костюма, женского костюма. Поэтому в этом он сдержан. А движения у него резкие, такие...
And his movements are sharp like an eagle that is ready to fly and attack his prey.
на свою добычу.
The faces of the dancers may seem to be familiar to the audience. This is not an accident. It's probably the best dance troupe in our city, which specializes in Caucasian dances, which are called CAUCASUS. We have already met these guys in Ingush house. They taught us the features of the dance of the Caucasus Turks, and now we meet them again. This team has a few dozen artists, adults, the young and the very young. But most importantly, the representatives of the various ethnic groups and nationalities dance lezginka here. Well, tell me, Arthur, how long have you been dancing? Yes. How old are you? 7 years old. And how old are you? Me? I'm 10. My friend used to dance here. He brought me here and I liked it. I'm 10 years old and I've been dancing for a year. For me, this is fire and the mood of excitement and everything. I would advise everyone to become more courageous and start dancing lezginka. There is a girl in the ensemble, which cannot stay unnoticed. Milana joined the ensemble after her sister, but she almost immediately said that the woman's part is too boring for her, and she is going to dance with the boys. It's quite beautiful when the girl is dancing the boys' part. This is unusual, and I think that the girls do it in a better way than the guys. I think so. So she dances next to you, and you think she dances better than you? Well, teachers always praise her, and she's quite good in dancing. Usually, the women's part in lezginka is different because of its restraint and elegance. Often, the main woman's accessory is a white handkerchief. That means that, yes, in the beginning, the girl, she refuses. But then the guy shows how he feels about her. In his movement, in his dance, and in the end, in the circle that he makes, we can see that he shows his clear intentions, that he is forthcoming, and that he is interested in her. And at the end of this dance, in his movements, he convinces the girl that he would be desirable for her to agree. Her consent means that she gives the handkerchief. It already means that she agrees. You know, in our history, a handkerchief has a very important role. There were such moments when two men were in love with a single girl, and they went into battle for her. They went beyond the territory of the village, and then there was a duel. And when they fought, one of them who survived got the girl. And the respect for the girl, for such a woman, is uncompromising. Because when the girl saw the fight, she would come into the battle and drop her handkerchief. At this time, the men would stop, put down their daggers, and walk away in peace. And the girl would have the right to choose between them. And even in the 21st century, Chechens live according to the old traditions and basic values which do not change. Maybe the modern age has affected us somewhat. Nevertheless, the customs and traditions which come from older times, our parents still tell us, and we try to convey these to our children. I believe that we will do this in order to preserve our customs and traditions. Generosity, hospitality, respect for one's elders, and respect for culture, both for your own and those who live nearby. These are our heroes today. Of course, I think it is a very popular thing to learn the traditions and customs of different people. To me, the most interesting part of every nation is their culture, because it's beautiful. And it's not surprising that wherever we come, no matter where we're visiting, as soon as we hear about the Caucasus lezginka, everyone starts dancing. It is the spirit. People are born with it. You know, it pleases me. I go to various events, including weddings. And I'm always pleased when not even Caucasian people, but Kazakhs and Russians and different nationalities, they all come out and dance, and they're able to dance lezginka. For me, it is a confirmation of the beautiful relationship to my culture. It pleases me a lot.
Orkestra
And I wish that you would at least once in your life visit a Chechen house, to dance the Chechen lezginka, and to taste one of the dishes of Chechen cuisine. See you soon in the new episode of Recipe for Friendship. And I'm your host, Aletina Madiarova.